as individuals in the United States and as a country and other westernized countries saying, well, we're entitled to this wonderful Western lifestyle. We're entitled to have whatever we want, whenever we want, as fast as we want. We can just order anything we want tomorrow from Amazon.com, and we should be able to have it. And that's an unquestioned reality and dynamic. No matter what it does to the planet, no matter how many species it kills, no matter what it does to the oceans, even if it makes this planet uninhabitable, we supposedly deserve to have what we want. So how then do people move into resonance with the WSS and say, we get that you folks are about collaboration. We get that you folks are intending the well-being of the common good of the whole planet and every species on it, and the planet itself, the oceans, the rivers, the forests, the trees, all that. And we really, really appreciate that. But what does that mean to my bottom line? But what does that mean to my positionality or status in the world, my network of people that I'm connected with, my mind? Am I going to be required to give up something in order for everyone else to live? Well, gosh, that's such a tough question. 1 billion children at risk on the planet for climate crisis effects, 3.3 to 3.6 billion people who may not have fresh water in the future and thus could die. And that could create a ripple effect of collapse of economies around the world simultaneous to the collapse of the ecosystem. But, I really enjoy having the power and status that I have. Am I a victim if I help out the WSS? Am I being victimized if I'm being asked to care about somebody else other than my own ego process? We would suggest that's not even an internal conversation that is worthy of having. And that said, how many people are going to be required to have that internal conversation with themselves and say, having what I have and wanting what I want and wanting what I want in the future is unlikely to support survival of the human species. Having what I want and the way I want it, when, where, how, and why I want it, is unlikely to keep 1 million species of other animals and insects on the planet from dying out. So how do I deal with that? Having what I want is acidifying and deoxygenating all of the oceans on the planet, killing the coral reefs, and as far as the research we did a week ago, potentially showing a collapse of plankton, which is the most prolific source of life in the ocean, perhaps on the planet. And if it collapses, it's game over for humanity, from what we understand. There's no coming back from that. There is no technology we have. We may have a few people who could live in caves with frozen dinners and reruns of Cablevision shows from years ago that until they then died out from old age. Still, we would be looking at collapse of life on the planet. So how many people have an internalized capacity to make decisions based upon such profound life dynamics? They've been taught how to select paper rather than plastic at the grocery store. They've been taught how to compost. They've been taught how to decrease their carbon footprint or turn up the AC so that they're not utilizing so much electricity and they're reducing their carbon footprint. And that's all wonderful and it's great and it's necessary. And when you start talking about transforming the life process of all the human beings on this planet in its totality, dialing down 7.5 billion people's carbon footprint, then they're a deer in the headlights. They don't know what that means. They don't know what that looks like. If we're asking human beings that have had a construct they call an ego, an identity, a personality, a social image, a social presence, if we're asking them to be part of a collaborative effort to solve the climate crisis, save a billion children, save 3.3 to 3.6 human beings, save the ocean and the plankton in the ocean, if we're asking them to be part of that, there are subconscious parts of their systems that are ego-based, and ego is not bad. It's everybody's got an ego. If they deny they've got some ego, they're either ignorant, lying, manipulating, don't know what they're talking about, or haven't recognized it. And that doesn't make them bad. It means that the ego is just part of the life process of human beings on this planet. It's normal. It's human to have an ego. It's not wrong. It's not bad. And the challenge is the ego and tribal process that we've been operating from for thousands or millions of years has been a set of developmental training wheels that have brought us to this moment as a species to say, are we capable of transcending our developmental path as a collective in whatever way is necessary for future generations of children to have a life and a planet to enjoy and to love each other on it, to love nature? It's a tough question. It means making tough decisions. It means nobody's going to get out of this situation without pain. Not going to happen. If we tried to sell it as such, we'd be lying. There's going to be pain for everybody. And there's also going to be opportunity for future generations and for the planet and its animals and insects. That is the opportunity that is before us. That's the choice that's before us. That is the grace of this present moment that we're being offered, this very narrow window of capacity to take action as a collective, united action, aligned action, well-organized and orchestrated action, efficient, effective action, courageous action, selfless action. That's the question that's before us. That's the opportunity that's before us. And if we choose that approach, every human being on this planet is going to be changed by that choice. We will not be as we have been as a species. We will no longer be that. That is not a loss. That's an opportunity. That's not a loss. That's a gain. That's not a loss. That's an evolution of collective consciousness that we can all move into, we can all benefit from, and we can all benefit each other from. And the ego looks at that as a loss, as I'm not going to get what I want. I'm not going to be in control. I may not be safe. I may be required to experience pain. I have been taught to avoid pain all my life. Pain has been seen as an enemy rather than as an educatory mechanism. And so if you're asking me to collaborate, you're asking me to lose out rather than gain and serve and survive. So it's a letting go of the illusions of the past. Is there any parent that would want to turn to their children and say that their children are not going to have as good or a better lifetime as their parents did? Absolutely not. It's a terrible thing to contemplate. And is it a truth? Likely it is. It's not one we enjoy speaking of. And would parents that want to be the best possible parents they could be to their children and grandchildren, would they want very much to be able to say, whatever I did in my lifetime made their future lifetimes better? Absolutely they would. And the question is, will they do it consciously enough to actually have it be that result, that excellent, fantastic, beautiful, wonderful future that is possible if we choose together? If we try to go in different directions, like horses hitched up to a wagon and pulling in different directions rather than all in the same direction, if we don't align our efforts, that's what we're looking at. There will be haves and have-nots. There will be people who prosper for a time at least, and those who suffer tremendously. Doesn't have to be the future. And if we work together, there won't be any true victims in this process. There won't be any loss. There'll be collective gain.